What's good with y'all? In today's video, I asked 4 developers 4 general questions that pretty much any Roblox developer would have, and here were their responses. But before I get into that, let me first tell you a little bit about the developers. First, we got Extenzin, I think that's how you say his name, Extenzin, the owner of Football Fusion, VidGameNate, the co-owner of Demon Slayer RPG. I don't even know how to pronounce this for us, like Exoco, developer. He's a developer for the Strongest Battlegrounds. And lastly, I have It's Yarny, owner of the Kinetic Abilities. But yeah, so the first question I asked, which is a general question, which I'm pretty sure anybody would ask any developer if they had a chance: what generally makes a Roblox game successful? First up, we have Extenzin's response. Roblox is one of the biggest gaming platforms. Games are successful because they are heavily planned out and advertised by a serious team. Then we have Exoco. The amount of effort put in by developers as well as the demand for the game. Next up, VidGameNate. VidGameNate has the more lengthy responses, so you guys will be able to tell the difference between the responses. The problem is you'll never really know if your game will be successful, but there will be signs that developers need to pick up in order to push their game forward. Stay humble, never believe your game is going to be the best on the platform. You always need to believe that your game can do better, and you need to find out how that's possible. It's always the smallest things that can make your game have the biggest difference. All of the small things added together makes the game feel vastly different. Playtesters are the most important thing you can have while developing. You want playtesters that will tell you what's wrong with your game and help you find bugs, rather than people who just want to get in to play the game earlier than everyone else. Though sometimes they're good for helping you figure out how fun the game is. Design-wise, you also want to take inspiration from games outside of Roblox. I heavily agree with what Nate said, because I've seen a lot of games, they rush the release date because people are excited to play the games, and then the game, it becomes really popular for maybe like a few weeks, maybe a month or two, and the game just dies out. It literally goes from being a front page Roblox game, like 20,000-30,000 people playing it, and then it just dies down to like a couple 1,000, 2,000 players a day. And I know a lot of you have seen games go like that. I'm obviously not gonna name a couple, but you guys should know. And then lastly, with It's Your Name, coming up with unique ideas and having your community involved. Definitely agree with this as well, because coming up with unique ideas, like there's so many developers on Roblox trying to make their own games, because they're trying to become #1 Roblox game, or just generally make it to the front page and make a lot of Robux, make a lot of money in general. So you definitely want to be different. Come up with some ideas that like Roblox players haven't come up with, that Roblox players have not seen. They haven't make a game that people have not seen. Make it unique and different, because the more unique your game is, is different from other games. That makes it so that your game has something to offer that other games don't have to offer, which makes your game valuable. And then having your community involved is definitely extremely important, because after all, your community is like it's like you're trying to cook something for your community, right? Like the game is the meal, and you need the formula for what's it called, like you need the not the menu, like what is it called, you need the how you make something, like how you make food, the recipe, that's the word. You need the recipe for how you want to make the food. So of course you got to have your community involved and ask them, what's their opinion on this, what do they want there, but obviously take whatever they say with a grain of salt. You also need to stick to the vision you have for your game, but be open to criticism as well as changes. Now, the next question I asked was, how long should you learn before trying to make a game? Which I feel like is a good question, because a lot of people, I see this a lot when people who ask me for help, people who they're trying to script all these different things that are require you to have at least a few months worth of experience in scripting, but they don't even know how to script. They straight up just say, I don't know how to script, I don't know what I'm doing, but yet they're trying to do all these things that clearly someone with your expertise can't. Stuff is not meant to be an insult or anything. It just simply means you need to put in the time and effort to practice before you actually try making something, let alone making an entire game. But here are the responses. It's RNA says, it really varies on what kind of game you want to develop. Some may require you to practice for longer than others, which that is true. Some games, if you're trying to make a game let me think. If you're trying to make a game Emergency Response Liberty County and stuff, that's definitely gonna require some scripting knowledge, opposed to a game Adopt Me, because Adopt Me scripting isn't really, yeah, it's really just like data stores UI. It's not like a lot of advanced stuff, so it really varies between the game. VidGame Nate's response was, making a game is a part of the learning process. You should start as soon as possible. If you want to learn how to make and design games, make sure you play a lot of games outside of Roblox. What I'm getting from Nate is he's saying pretty much to always look outside of Roblox games. Like, don't have tunnel vision and just focus on Roblox games, because you could learn a lot from looking at other games, whether it be like they be on console, Steam games. You could learn a lot because if it's a popular game that pulls in players, you can learn from it to maybe take some ideas or inspiration from it. Extension said, you can learn while you make your first game. Any issues can be fixed later. I kind of agree with what he's saying. Like, I still feel like you need to have like a starting point. Like, you need to already be at a point where like you are decently knowledgeable about whatever it is you're doing, whether you're building, scripting, or whatnot. I still feel like you need to be decently knowledgeable. But he does definitely have a point. You can learn while you're making your first game, and then you can kind of like put all your ideas together, try to make them and everything, and then improve on it as time goes, because obviously you're going to improve on your skills and get better, so you can improve the game as time goes on. And then lastly, Execo said, whenever you feel ready to make something on your own, which that does play a big part into it, because honestly, you as a person, you should be able to really know whenever you're ready to make a game based on your own skill set, because you know your skill set better than anyone else. So you should be able to determine whether or not you're able to start making a game, or if you still need more practice. Then my next question was, what are some mistakes new developers make? Which is definitely a really good question, because as I mentioned before, there are games that have they've went front page of Roblox, and they literally just die in like a month or two and stuff. You want your game to be successful over a long period of time, over months to even years. You want long-term success, not short-term success. But here's what Execo said. They rush the process. Development takes time. Rushing may get your game popular for a while, but the game can easily die if you rush to release it. Which 100% I do agree. 100% I do agree with, as I already mentioned in the beginning of the video, that yeah, that's what happens a lot. That's what happens a lot with games, that they end up dying. They end up dying because they just try to rush the release. They try to tailor to the needs of the community rather than sticking to the original vision of the game, as well as just rushing the process without testing. And then there's a lot of bugs. Definitely seen that, where there's games where there's just a lot of bugs, and then you're stuck trying to fix all these bugs, while people are complaining. People are like, alright, I don't want to play the game anymore. And yeah, the community just turns against you. The community that once hyped up the game's release and everything, they're turning against you. Extension's response was, some common mistakes are, he named a few. Poor attempt at making a data store, which leads to data loss, not enough knowledge of anti-cheat, which leads to exploitation of remote events, and not having a good understanding of the client to server model. Pretty much to sum up what he said, or to kind of explain in simple terms, right? Because these really only apply to scripters, but at the same time, it does apply to the game itself. So obviously, data stores is one of the most important things if your game uses data stores. You definitely want to make sure that you're saving your data effectively and efficiently, because if you were to have like some type of data loss, like major data loss, that could definitely make a lot of people stop playing your game. If you have one of those, like if your game is progressive, where like people play your game like every day for hours and they're progressing, they're unlocking abilities, outfits, and whatever, cosmetics, whatever the case may be, then they would be really mad. Because y'all know too, if y'all were to lose y'all data in a game y'all play for hours every day, y'all be mad. Like, y'all be hella mad. So obviously what you want to do is make sure that you're saving data correctly and efficiently. Then not enough knowledge of anti-cheat, which of course exploiters and people generally just hacking games and stuff like that, that definitely would upset you, because it's like, especially for fighting games, if you're trying to 1v1 people, and then all you ever run into is just hackers and people just exploiting, then that becomes annoying. It becomes repetitive. You don't want to play the game anymore. And then not having understanding of the client to server model. Yeah, you need to understand how sending information from the client to server works, so that not only do you know how to use it, like take advantage of it, utilize it, you also need to know so that you don't leave any vulnerabilities for exploiters to take advantage of. Then VidGame Nate's response was, game development isn't easy, but it can be fun if you like doing it. The most common mistake I see is when new developers announce they're making a game and have an entire public Discord for their game, so it generates hype out of creating assets. There's something people like to call Discord games, where they create all the assets, sneak peek them, but actually don't have any game created. Because of this, creators may find themselves searching for community approval and may find it difficult to stop working on the game. While it's good to listen to your community, don't let that get in the way of your vision. Make the game first, the assets can come later. Take one bite at a time. It's better to finish one thing rather than have 1,000 unfinished objects. It's better to make an early version of your game without good visuals to prove that your game has potential to be a lot of fun. Games also cost money or your own time to create. They're not cheap and you'll find yourself doing a lot of stuff to try to pay your developers. One example has been the Discord game method in an attempt for people to generate money for their game. It's 100% okay to stop making your game early on if you feel like it won't work out. Roblox developers never tell you how many games they started and abandoned, but it's a lot. So again, I agree a lot with what Nate said, because Nate, he has a lot of great points. Stuff. Now, I haven't seen exactly what he's talking about. I do kind of understand what he's saying about the Discord games, where people do hype up games and stuff, but then the game isn't even like, they haven't tested it, they haven't tested for bugs, performance and stuff. Because honestly, some games, they're amazing, they don't really have bugs. It could literally be performance. Like, it could just be a really laggy game. Like, when people are trying to play the game, it's just extremely laggy and the performance is just horrible. And then on to It's Yarnay's response. It's Yarnay's response pretty much said, lack of planning and testing are two of the biggest reasons game fails. Taking the time to test can prove to be beneficial in the long run, as you can make necessary improvements as well as bug fixes. Which I do 100% agree, because you do need to take the time to plan out with your development team, or if you're making the game yourself. You need to plan out how you want the game to go, how you want this to work, how you want that to work, the release date you're aiming for. And another thing about release dates, try to keep those private, because I've seen with a lot of other developers that when they tell their community, like, okay, the game is releasing on this day, and then they don't meet that date, people are really mad. So unless you know 100% that like the game is ready to go, don't, because you don't want to create like a sense of like you're lying, like you like Uzi, like you just cap. You feel what I'm saying? If you understand what I'm saying, then you get what I'm saying. But taking the time to test can prove to be beneficial in the long run, as you can make necessary improvements as well as bug fixes. Yes, testing is honestly probably one of the biggest, most important things to do after you finish making all the fundamentals and the layout of your game. You need to test. You can improve. You can improve a lot of stuff. Make things generally look, sound, feel better. Improve performance as well as fix things. Because if something is like, there's a glitch where like people are able to, I don't know, like go from level 1 to 80 in a matter of like 5 minutes off of like farming something, you would obviously want to figure that out before the game is mass released, like released to everybody. You would want to figure that out, because if you didn't, then it's like all these people just abuse the method. You have all these people at high levels while the other people are trying to grind and putting all the time and effort, but now they're behind, all simply because you didn't take the time to test and fix any bugs that were in your game. And then on to my last question. How old were you when you started developing? It's Yarnay was 14. VidGame Nate he told me he was around 13 or 14, so pretty much the same as It's Yarnay. And then he said he was around 15 to 16 years old when he started working with Higoshi, which is, if you don't know, the owner of Shonen Studio, which Shonen Studio is the studio behind Demon Slayer RPG. And I didn't get the chance to ask Exco and Extend in that question, but I'm pretty sure it's about the same, because I do see a trend. It's usually about 14 to 15 where people start really developing, and they start practicing or learning, I should say. And then the last thing was, I asked them simply just to add on any bit of extra advice you have, anything you just want to say. And then Exco said, have patience and practice. Very much so. You need to practice before you can try to make a game. Extension said, focus on making a good game. Don't make it all about Robux. Yes, quality is very important. Make a really good game. It's okay to want to, your goal to be make a lot of Robux, but just make sure you're developing a high quality game and not just focused on, I just want Robux, or I just want money. And for VidGame Nate, he said he was pretty much talking about it's the same point of what he was already trying to make about how just look outside of Roblox for inspiration, because I'm assuming that's what he did, and that's how he was able to develop Demon Slayer RPG to become a successful game, is that just looking at outside games such as Unity. But Unity's not a game, but like look at tutorials like Unity, because apparently he learned a lot from Unity. from Unity tutorials. Then Isarne said, learn from your mistakes and accept feedback as it can help you to improve your game, which is definitely very important, because learning from your mistakes, that's the only way to grow. And accepting feedback, I mean, yeah, how else are you supposed to improve your game? Because your game is for your community. It's like a recipe. The recipe only gets better if they let you know, like, we don't like this, we like that, that could be a little better. Then you improve on it and your game's getting better and you're pulling in more players. Yeah, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, leave a like and subscribe, and thank you guys for watching.